August 14th, 2017 BZA meeting to order. Please join me in Saints doing the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Hey, Carrie.
Hello.
Okay, we need a roll call of attendance.
Okay. Carrie Steele.
Here.
Kenny Burgess. Here. Bill Crawford.
Here.
Ed Harrell.
Here.
Jason Waterman. Bill McDaniel.
Present.
Colin Judd.
Here.
And myself.
Okay, next on the agenda is the approval of the minutes for July 10th, 2017. I don't know if you guys want to take a second and look at them, or...
It's all right with everybody, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Okay,
Second motion.
all right. We have a motion to approve the minutes, properly made and seconded. Take a vote,
Roll call.
roll call.
Carrie Steele.
Yes.
Kenny Burgess.
Yes.
Bill Crawford.
Yes.
Ed Harrell.
Yes.
That's it. Right.
Okay, next on the agenda is the public hearing for Kenneth Eldridge for relief from privacy fence height from 6 feet to 8 feet. You go ahead and kind of present.
Now, what you can do is just explain to, what happened and why you built it to the 8 feet, and and I don't think that, I guess you can talk a little bit about the swimming pool also, because
Okay.
the role that plays and for your reason for the taller fence.
Okay,
And we probably don't need to go into all of
No.
the
okay,
controversy.
right. Well, first of all, thank you all for seeing us tonight. I apologize for last month. We were at the courthouse. I thought it was over there instead of here. So my wife and I apologize for that. We're here tonight because there's an issue about an 8-foot privacy fence between myself and one of my neighbors. The reason there is a fence that tall, first of all, is I did not know that there was a code saying that it shouldn't be any higher than 6 foot. So what we've done is we've asked for a variance on that, and the reason is that we live at the bottom of a hill. Everyone that lives above us has a line of sight into our yard, and they can see our swimming pool that we have. So it's a form of privacy, and it's a form of safety to help keep the kids out. Most of all, it's to keep the peace between myself and one of the neighbors' pets that they have that runs loose in their backyard. And the dogs are continuously, every time they see us out in our yard, there's a German Shepherd and 3 other dogs that become very violent toward me. They don't like me, they don't like my little dog, they don't like my wife. So we built an 8-foot privacy fence to help keep the peace, and strictly to keep the peace. That's why we built it the way we did. The rest of our property has a 6-foot privacy fence around it. So we're asking,
Oh, go ahead, I'm sorry.
we're just asking for a variance for approximately 40 feet of 8-foot privacy fence to keep the peace with the neighbors. Since the fence has been up, there hasn't been hardly any issues at all with those other pets next door. They can't see me. When I'm on my deck on my swimming pool, they still can't see me, so that's what I'm asking is for a variance. That's all I have.
Any questions for him?
Yeah, just so that I'm clear, it wasn't, and I apologize for nearly interrupting. What I see on here, what area will it be 8 feet? Like I've got the, is it just one side?
It'll be the backs, My,
About the southwest half of the southwest property line. Basically, it's from about the, not quite the corner of the house, all the way to the rear property line.
Okay, so line of sight essentially, especially, does that clear from the whole hillside, or is it just mostly the?
immediate neighbors, and from there up, there's enough foliage that there's no line of sight from the
Okay.
rest of the neighbors up that way.
Over that fence, you see that?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's what I was trying to figure out.
Our house
That empty lot.
is on,
I went by
Wilma
and couldn't
Road,
figure out where that went.
but the way it's situated, on a corner lot, they have turned it so it's facing toward Lola Road, so the
Okay.
fence is running east and west.
Okay, makes sense.
And one thing also is and now the one property that would have a direct line of sight into it, and they have a pool, and behind that, and that's actually a privacy fence. It is elevated to where the top is, probably about 8 feet above the actual grade also.
Okay.
Yeah, so that
It's a-
fence
it's
is
a
put up
six-
for
It's a
comparable reasons.
6-foot fence, but
But
it's out of the ground
About
I
on a
see.
hill.
Yeah,
I see.
yeah, and it is a line of sight thing also.
The neighbor that there's with the dogs, did they contact you, Bill, or do we have any feedback from them? Is
I
this a good
haven't
thing
gotten
or
any
bad thing?
feedback from them, and actually the neighbor with the dogs is what initiated the complaint that led to the privacy fence, and then discovering that there's a swimming pool without a permit, which was because of Watson's out of Cincinnati, which we've had a problem
Yeah.
with them in the past, not making sure people get permits.
And we did go in and make sure we rectified that situation and paid our
Yeah.
building permit
Yeah.
fees.
Yeah, okay,
No.
and that was in the document, yeah.
Yeah, so,
In this picture, I don't know if you can see it that far away, is this the fence where the dogs?
May I approach?
Sure, this the fence where the dogs are? So this is the fence?
Yes, directly behind that fence would be where the dogs are, sir.
Okay, okay. And is that the person that, I'm reading here where it says complaint made by phone on May 31st? That's who
Yep.
filed the complaint?
Yes.
yeah.
My next question is, when the letters went out, that person has the knowledge of this hearing here tonight?
Yes, they received the property owner, and then also through conversations, and the person is not the property owner, but they're renting the property. I think they're buying it on contract, but it's not a recorded contract.
Okay.
So the letter went to the other, and also because of they do know about it, because the other neighbor is Gail, who works in the surveyor's office.
So, hang on, I wanna make sure, the tenant and the landowner have full knowledge of this meeting?
Both, yes.
Okay,
Even though it was rearranged.
yeah,
Okay.
okay.
Yeah, that was my question. Since we postponed the month, they know we're here tonight.
Because
In this hearing.
the neighbor who filed the complaint was unable, made it known yesterday through Mrs. Lingle, that he wasn't gonna be able to be there because he's a long-distance road driver. And he was gonna be gone on that particular day on a route, so he wasn't gonna be able to attend. And I've received nothing from the actual property owner. And so I was informed that the tenant was gonna try to get the actual property owner to send a letter objecting, but I have not received anything. And I have not received anything from it. None of the neighbors has actually contacted me to object to this.
Okay, and I want to be clear, I just want to make sure that I know, because I wasn't here for the July meeting, and it doesn't, this is a fact-checking question.
Okay.
He wasn't here either.
I was say, is your understanding though that your neighbor does not want the taller fence?
No, it is not my understanding of that.
They're just upset because they just were afraid you weren't following the code, and they just want to make sure you were following the code. It wasn't that they were upset about the fence. They just wanted to ensure that you were doing things correctly.
There's
That's
a
good, yeah. The
whole
reason
lot
for
of,
the phone call was, that's good. The reason for the phone call with the complaint was,
They wanted to make sure he was doing it correctly,
Yeah.
not that they were inherently opposed to the fence.
yeah, that was where I was trying to go.
Is that,
Mr. McDaniel could probably answer that, actually.
Yeah, it's
because-
We
Yeah.
aren't privy to that information.
Yeah, because it was the.
Okay, and that's why I wasn't
yeah.
sure that,
Because the phone calls about a fence being built that's too tall, asked about whether or not a permit's required for a privacy fence, no. And then also mentioned about the swimming pool without a permit.
okay.
I will say this, the chain link fence that was there originally is my property. It's still there. We offset the 6-foot privacy, or 8-foot privacy fence by 2 feet. So there's 2 feet in between the two fences, so it's not distracting, it's not even touching anyone's property except mine. So there's a nice little pathway down through there, which I need to weed eat, but it's 2 foot off of the property, and it's there just to protect line of sight and to keep tensions down.
Okay. I think that answers my question.
I guess one of my issues is that whether somebody complained about it or not, if it's against the law, it's against the law to begin with. We'll go through that all the time, trying to blame neighbors, and it's unfair to have neighbors be the ones that have to turn things in, and so, as far as that goes.
Yeah.
Well, I know it. The other issue is, from what I read, is that you talked about you didn't realize there was a law saying that you couldn't do that, a rule saying you couldn't do that, but from what we read is that you didn't even have the fence put up yet.
No, it was put up.
That was gonna be.
Matter of fact, it was, the approximately 1/2 of it was actually installed at about the 8 feet. So, which is why there was a continuation of the rest of the fence at the 8 feet. But now, one thing that did happen is that they did have the contractor then put in basically put in the block or the horizontal support and did drop it down to just below 6 feet. So should it have to be removed down to 6 feet?
That way you can
Yeah.
cut off the field.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's
so,
what I meant.
yeah, so they did go ahead and do that after the contact with me, anticipation that they know they won't necessarily get it, they might get it, they might not get it.
Just to clarify, the materials were already bought. We were halfway through with the fence. Instead of the materials laying on the ground, getting wet and warping, this is typical with that type of wood. We went ahead and finished it and asked that we could come to the board and ask for an appeal.
Yeah, because the first day I visited the site, and I mentioned about the fence, was a stated intention at that point in time to, well, they will request a variance for a taller fence. And I'll say that Mr. and Mrs. Eldridge all the way through is that they've been very respectful. There's never been any arguing, resentment, anything along those lines. So it's like, what do I need to do to try to fix this?
So you didn't give them a stop order?
No, I didn't actually do the stop order.
Okay.
Okay.
But if I understood right, what you did is went ahead and finished the fence after you were made aware that it was
Too tall.
not in violation of the code.
That's correct.
But you did it in such a way where it can be removed.
That's correct.
Okay, I understand.
The top stringer is at 6 foot, which is easy enough to go back through, run a chalk line, cut it off at 6 foot. Then that'll open up immediate line of sight to the neighbors with their dogs.
Problem returns, yeah.
Problem returns.
And you don't have any intentions of taking that on around?
Negative.
Okay.
There's a fence between myself and, you may know Gail Lingle, works in the courthouse. There's a fence between their property and my property. It's a standard 6 foot privacy fence. The rest of the fence around my yard for pool security and safety to keep children out is at 6 foot or at 4 foot.
I just wanted to clarify that. too.
Yeah, I can have no means of wanting to build a fortress and
I know
block
you-
myself
you-
in.
You told me that, but I just wanted to hear it on the record.
Thank you.
I don't want to build a fortress.
Yeah. Okay, any more questions? I'll entertain a motion if anybody has one.
Make a motion, we approve the variance to allow them to have the 8-foot fence.
Any stipulations or?
No.
Okay.
I would like to add a stipulation to this motion if I could. Stipulation being that there's no further construction of any 8-foot fences.
Understand?
Yeah.
No, we do that just for the record so that
you know, if you guys do that, then he can come out and,
Tear it down.
you
If
know.
this motion is approved, that means there'll be no more 8-foot fence without
Coming before.
the proper
understand.
paperwork.
Understand.
You're approving this
I agree.
section, you're
Yes,
saying,
this
yes,
section.
I understand.
And that's all I'm asking for is this one section that was running east and west.
Yes, sir, and that's what you're being granted, that's what you're being granted
Thank
Okay.
you.
with this
I
motion.
agree to the amendment to the motion.
Okay,
Okay, I would second the motion.
all right, we have a motion made and properly seconded that will approve the 8-foot fence that's in place, with no more 8-foot fence to be added at any time in the future. All right, we'll take a roll call.
Carrie Steele,
Yes.
Kenny Burgess,
No.
Bill Crawford,
Yes.
Ed Harrell.
Yes.
All right, you can, he needs to come to you or for variance or?
Well, no, actually, all they'll just need from me is it'll just be a letter stating that at this meeting, their variance was approved.
Okay.
That's all they'll need from me.
Wonderful. Thank you all very
Yep,
much.
no problem.
Thank you very
Oh,
much.
Thank you for cooperating.
Signatures, please.
And then, so we're done with you guys. I mean, if you
Okay.
wanna hang around and listen to the
Oh, actually, here's the
the
one.
good stuff, boring stuff.
Oh, no, no. That's right, this is the one from last month.
Okay, thank you all very much
All
for
right.
seeing us.
All right, thank you.
Glad you
for
found
being
us
nice.
this month.
Thank you.
Well, we finally found it.
All right, next on the agenda is the director's report. Everybody have a copy of it? Yeah, you do or do not?
Oh, I do have a copy.
Okay, all right. Looks like it was a little slower than last year, but
Yeah?
no single-family homes yet. No.
Yeah.
Whatever happened to the one that was up on 17th Street? We approved it when they
Yeah,
could
I
build.
wondered,
Yeah.
something in a modular home that they were putting or something, it was, I
17th and East Street, remember that?
was gonna say it was over like
By
kind of
Maplewood,
behind
or, yeah, by
CGV.
Maplewood School.
Oh, yeah, no, they've never come back
I
about
drove
it.
by there and I've never seen.
No, they've never come back to me about it,
Okay,
so.
all right, that's on a different day. So, director's report,
I'll move to approve.
Second.
all right. Motion been made to approve and properly seconded to approve the director's report. Roll call?
Carrie Steele,
Yes.
Kenny Burgess.
Yes.
Bill Crawford.
Yes.
Ed Harrell.
Yes.
Okay, anybody else have anything?
Just for the heck of it, since we got time, in my neighborhood, it seems like there's been a lot of 3 big Morton-type buildings put in residential area, which I've had people asking me about. Some of them just seem to be like massive for the property that it's on. Isn't it in our book that you can't do that?
Okay, all of it,
Put it that way. It's- I know it's.
what it has, it's ambiguous language of, the, secondary in size to the actual, primary structure.
One of them, I know, is much bigger than the house.
Yeah.
It's just much bigger than the house, and it's a steel building, it's just obtrusive. Bam, there it is.
And the one that recently went in with Rick Free, next year they're putting a house in, a modular home on that property.
Okay.
Those are the ones we granted George Taylor requested the variances on the lots.
They're nice looking buildings, but they just look out of place.
What
Yeah.
about the height on it?
It's tall, way taller than the house.
Yeah. Really, what probably should be in place should be something, clear, defining what you mean by secondary as far as with the height of the building, the mass of the building, or it could be something as far as you might base it on something along the lines of what's your typical 2-car garage, which is, let's see, 1-car garage, you look at it with let's do the math. Okay, so, standard, so if you're looking at a 1-car garage, you're gonna look at 8-foot walls, 8-foot door, 4-foot 4 foot, so you're gonna look at a 8, 12, 16. So most of those then, really to get the sufficient depth because of the size vehicles most people drive around here, you look at 24. 24, 16, 4, 16, 12, 14, 0, 4.
I wonder about lot coverage too. I mean, if they're gonna put
Yeah,
that big pole barn on there and then put a house on there too, they
Yeah.
can't be meeting.
yeah,
30.
so one car garage is a minimum, is typically gonna be about 384 square feet. 720 square feet, then you're starting to get in the realm of a 2-car garage. But, now, one people have asked about, but it's secondary to the actual size of the house. And when you look at all the area that it actually has, it's the one that's down there on 3rd and Eastern. There is actually enough lot coverage.
No, not necessarily that one.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying in general, that's one people have, you asked me about that.
Right behind the mansion.
Yeah. But, which really is a nice building.
Oh, it is a
Oh,
nice
it's really
building.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's prefabricated, all the materials.
He told mine, so I'm still in yours. Okay.
Okay.
One thing I did want to bring up is Mr. Judd and I were talking about the fences and the 8-foot fence rule. In the past, some people have been told that the lattice is not part of the fence, so they could build a 6-foot fence and then put a 2-foot lattice. Well, I think he just did the research on it.
I'm gonna do a little more, but yeah, I did some
But-
preliminary searching.
Let's make him more for a
The
change.
preliminary research says what you put on top of it is just a different decoration part of the fence.
Okay.
So if it's on the bottom, on the top, it's still part of the fence. It's
So it
a,
still counts
Yep.
as the height.
if you raise it off the ground, I'm assuming
Yeah,
Yeah, it's still the
Yeah,
highest
but-
point is
it's above that 6-foot fence.
okay. Yeah,
And that's all I have.
okay.
If I find out something different, I'll come back and let you guys know, because I want to look into it a little
He
bit.
was out of the country. So
Yeah,
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, enjoying a tropical storm.
yeah,
Yeah.
pretty great.
Bill, the email you sent,
Yeah,
is this, would this be a good time maybe to talk a little bit about that?
No.
which one, which email?
The last email about the daycare,
Oh, yes, 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 yes. Okay, now, I think it's at the point that the neighbors up there understand that we've been preempted from, okay, through zoning with the home operator occupied daycare. We're preempted from those. Now, the neighbors have accepted that is, one of the neighbors asked Judge Flum to come by. And I explained that the state of Indiana has preempted us from with the zoning. And then pretty much it's accepted both with the planning association, also the attorneys that worked a lot with the planning association, that by the language that's in there, if the owner's operating there, you can't do anything with the zoning. Okay, whether it's a business, whether it's private, anything along those lines, you still can as long as the operator lives there. Now, what you can do is if it's in a residence but they do not live there, then then the zoning code kicks in. But not when the actual operator lives there. When Judge Flum stopped by and asked me about it, I said, well, it's preempted by the state of Indiana. I said, would you like a copy? He goes, no, that's all I need to know. So so I've also asked Mr. Judd to just, be aware of this should anybody come to speak with him about it.
my question is if there is a covenant in that neighborhood
It's,
that says no businesses,
okay,
well, no, that doesn't
this is for the courts.
involve us, yeah.
This is for the courts. And one of the neighbors called today, goes, well, who sends them a letter to say that the covenants don't allow it? I say, well, that's why you need, I said, you need to get an attorney. So we have to file a lawsuit. Yes, you have to file a lawsuit. It's covenants, it's private. We don't enforce the private agreements. God, that would be a nightmare.
The housing association usually does that in most places, but none of them have it. right?
Well, I don't know if any place in Fayette County has a housing
No,
association.
I'm sure they don't.
Now, there's a condo association for the Country Club Villas.
Are they really?
Yeah, that still has an active condo association.
good.
Well, someone has to collect the money for the repairs.
Oh,
Since all you do at the condo, all you own is the air.
right.
I thought it was interesting that he said the chain link fence that's on the property line is still there, and I moved this in a couple of feet.
Yeah.
So that it's completely on my, I can take you some places down in eastern Kentucky, if we're still up there, where you drive along the road and there's a fence, and then about 2 or 3 feet over, there's another fence. And I asked the question, what's that? What is that? Well, those property owners can't get along. They can't agree on what fence to build, so they both built their own fence back inside their own property line. And that area between there is called a contrary lane. It made me think of that when he said I built that in there. They said they call them contrary lanes because there's just a piece of ground there that grows up in weeds and brush.
Sort of a no man's land.
Contrary lane.
As long as it isn't mined.
So, Bill, can you explain to people about pool permits, who has to get permits?
Pool permits?
Yeah, who does?
Okay, as long as it's, okay, State of Indiana swimming pool code. Above ground pools, things like Watson pools, family leisure pools, the pools you might get from, Russell and, the local pool company.
RNG.
Yeah, but the, yeah, fun time pools also, the local pools is the, Russell and Sharon, Russell and Sharon Cranfield, their business up on 30th Street. All those because they use the tools and they're actually built as permanent structures. Those all need the permits.
Or in-ground pool?
In-ground pools need the permits. Now, the key requirement is that then it has to be protected to a level, to a height of 5 feet. Now, it can be with a 5-foot unclimbable fence. You know, had someone in today, they already have a privacy fence, thank goodness. But they can be those extensions you see on the top of some swimming pools, above ground pools. That's what those are for, is to get them up to the 5 feet. And as much as I don't like it, the state of Indiana allows those ladders that lock up right position. It kind of makes me cringe. Now an in-ground pool that has a key-operated swimming pool cover and the actual cover is rated to, I forget how many pounds it is, but they're rated to take the weight. Yeah, the Underwriters Laboratory, they test it. That passes, and it doesn't need a fence with that swimming pool cover.
So some of the, legally, everybody that's got a pool has to have a fence around
You
it.
know, those. Now,
In
the
city
gray area, the
county.
one that falls under it, and the state of Indiana and the swimming pool code hasn't done anything about it, are because they can go up and they can go down like that, and they aren't treated as permanent pools.
I don't like that. Yeah.
Are those blow up and those throw together Walmart pools. Those are in a gray area, and I hate those to no
Yeah,
end.
because kids can't drown in those.
Is it the county as well or just the city?
Both.
Or a 5-gallon
Just
bucket.
think-
Yeah.
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 Mm-hmm. Yep. And because if you remember when we amended the swimming pool code, yeah, the question came up that also we have when Mark Nobby was on is that he would object to the idea of regulating those anyway because it goes beyond the Indiana swimming pool code. I mean, I really don't like those things. I cannot stand those things, but
So some of the regulations for putting up a pool would be not to be how many feet
10 feet from a property line, 10 feet from a structure.
from a structure, so you can't jump off the roof and.
Yeah, and yeah, that's one of it, but the primary one, 10 feet from a structure, is if you have a catastrophic failure with it, it doesn't damage the foundation and flood the crawl space.
No, that's about that.
Yeah. So that's probably a bigger reason, but yeah, some of it is also 10 feet, because, yeah, someone jumping from a roof into an above-ground pool, there's gonna be all kinds of hurt.
Well, yeah, broken, whatever.
Yeah,
And
even if you do a perfect cannonball, you'll hurt.
So, yeah, you're not allowed to put one under electric lines.
Correct.
And other rules.
Yeah, there's things in the electric code, whereas it has to be, I mean, if it's, say, 30 feet up,
Right.
it can conceivably have your electric line going over it. Because I think it's 22, I think as you go like this, 22 feet in any direction from, that's correct, isn't it, Bill? 22 feet in any direction, you cannot have any type of high tension wire. It doesn't apply to low voltage, even though it probably should, because even with the low amperage in water, you can get,
And those are state
Yeah.
laws, right? But
Yeah.
there's people get mad at all those rules, even my daughter. She, over having all, you can't put it underneath an electric line. Well, the reason for that is for safety, so
Yeah.
you don't throw something over top of it and kill your whole family. But it's not people trying to be mean.
no, pretty much, we've had conversations about different things in the past. Pretty much most of the things that some of the people find most onerous in building codes is because people died. Just like if you have so many people in a business, the door has to swing outward.
Right.
And does everybody know what the event was resulted in that?
In Cincinnati.
Nightclub.
No, that was in Boston. It was a post-World War II party. End of World War II party. And there was a fire in the place and the doors opened in. And so everybody piled up at the door, and all kinds of people died from primarily smoke inhalation because all the bodies are piled up and they can't get the door in.
That's usually what happens to change laws.
Well, it's just like things like the ground fault circuit interrupters, arc fault breakers, all sorts of things like that.
All
Are
right.
we done?
As soon as somebody makes a motion.
I'll second it.
I was gonna say,
All right, we have a motion made and properly seconded to adjourn.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, officially closed the August 14th, 2017 BZA meeting.